Hey everyone, Jakester here. I'm going to bring you the next week of the Sylvania Cup Series. Our next track will be at a SuperSpeedway again, and this one's quite a unique setup. It's not a real track, it's a fictional track, and I'll go into a little bit more detail in a while here on what makes it so unique. First off, I wanted to highlight the point standings after the first 3 races of the season. As you can see, last week's winner, Scott Dixon, is the largest jumper, moving up 25 spots up to 6th. The top 5 has stayed pretty solid. There hasn't been much fluctuation up there. Will Power's really looking to be the dominant driver of the season so far. On this list, the 2 biggest surprises is that of Colton Herta and Austin Cindric. It's their first season in the Sylvania Cup Series, and both of them are already in the top 10. And this week, the series continues its venture through Canada, this time at the fictional racetrack of RIKI Raceway. RIKI Raceway is a 2.25 mile superspeedway oval. It lends itself to some pretty good racing action and definitely some of the gnarliest wrecks that I've ever seen in the series. I think one of the coolest things about this track is its pit road exit. Pit road exit actually has its own banked corner inside of the track, separate from the track, so that when they leave, they're getting up to speed on another part that is not part of the racing surface. As you can see here, pit exit is actually very separate of the racetrack, and eventually they rejoin the racing surface at the end of turn 2 here. It's definitely a unique feature that very few tracks have. To my knowledge, almost none. And would you looky there, Scott Dixon's on the pole. More of our usual suspects with Jimmy Johnson in 6th there. Monty Shangle's still looking pretty good, sitting in 4th to start this race. Our previous points leader, Aaron Rapp, is starting mid-pack. Even further back, our current points leader, Will Power, is starting mid-30s. Here's the back of the field. We've got Kellen, Casey Kane, Dalton Scott, me, and my brother, to name a few. No words necessary. I just wanted to show some racing action. Our first wrecks happen when Liz Shangle has a mechanical failure, and it causes... Involved in that wreck was Aaron Rapp and even Alexander Rossi, both of which have been off to a decent start this year. Dalton has some sort of failure and had to come through pit road during green flag conditions. This ends up putting him laps down to begin the race. I'm not even going to try to keep up with how many lead changes there are in this race. I'll give you a little tidbit. I think we set a record for new lead changes in this race. So I feel it would be better to just highlight who survives and how many people are out due to attrition. The race goes wreck-free from lap 6 to 60 until this happens. Tyler and Clyde were coming out of the pits and got connected on a green flag pit stop and wound up collecting a few more drivers in the midst. Out of the race from that wreck involved Kellen Rolick, John Roman, Austin Cindric, and that was it. Other drivers that are currently out from previously was Brad Keselowski, Elizabeth Shangle, Aaron Rapp, Alexander Rossi, Alan Taylor, and Larry Lusk. So at halfway, 112 of 223, we had seen 73 lead changes, and at this point, Will Power was the leader at halfway. Dalton Scott still lingering. His car's plenty fast enough that he can keep up with the front crew, but he's still trapped multiple laps down trying to get his laps back. During lap 150, we have another massive crash during green flag pit stops. This wreck was caused by Lando Norris connecting with Ken Roczen. Ultimately, that caused a big pileup behind, taking out a lot of top contenders during. Majority of the cars involved in this wreck have led a lap at this point. Still surviving all the carnage, Dalton Scott has moved his way up from basically dead last at the start of this race to now running 23rd overall. Since that last wreck, the race seems to go pretty trouble-free. There's an established top 5 that we get. Casey Kane, Tyler Shangle, me and Joseph Newgarden, along with Stephen Keith, are kind of your top runners at this point. And even that breaks down to a 3-car fight after me and Joseph Newgarden lose contact with the lead pack. You got Casey Kane, Tyler Shangle, and Stephen Keith, who will end up fighting for it for the last 20 or so laps. And if you thought we were done with cautions, you were sadly mistaken. Dalton gets caught up in a 4-wide conundrum here, wrecking while he was running 19th 2 laps down. Also involved in this wreck, however, was the 12 of Will Power, the 99 of Jim Frost, and yet again, it looks like a Red Bull car, that of Jacob Roloff, was also somewhat involved. He was barely touched, but it was part of the 4-wide action that happened there. Sadly, this ends the day for Dalton's valiant effort trying to charge back to the front. And at this point, we had something very unique happen. The caution had waved with 5 laps to go. And with the NASCAR Racing 2003 game, there was no such thing as green-white checkers. And I was crossing my fingers hoping that they'd get back to racing because it's right on the cusp. If you have it fall at 5 laps, if the pace car has to stay out another lap, then your winner is declared, whoever's in the lead at the start of the caution. So Stephen Keith is the leader with 4 laps to go. And I kind of had to just play the waiting game to see. Luckily, we do get to see them race for the win. The pace lights go out with 1 lap to go. 2 laps technically. They were going to take the green, the white, and the checkers. Interestingly enough, this kind of turned it into anyone's race at this point. All Steven had to do was hold off Tyler, Casey Kane, Joseph Newgarden, and me, all of which are hungry for a win. It's crazy that it comes to a 1-lap shootout to determine the winner. We can see the Valvoline car of Casey Kane peeking inside. The lap cars of the 80 and the 23 are going to make it difficult for Steven. Casey Kane uses this to his advantage, pulls ever so slightly in front, slightly behind, and it comes across to win the race. The craziest part is that Casey Kane came from deep in the field to win this race. So yeah, in a 223 lap race, there was 130 lead changes amongst 29 drivers. And honestly, 4 caution flags was pretty light for this race. However, most of the time when there was a wreck, it involved a bunch of people. Some of the interesting, simply amazing, Tyler came from 42nd to 4th, Joseph Newgarden came 41st to 3rd, and our winner, Casey Kane, had started 32nd to win it. Strangely enough, Steven and Casey both led 26 laps apiece. So once I go to score this race, it's going to be pretty interesting because there will be a lot of bonus points handed out where there's usually not that much extra for other drivers to gain. And that's another wrap for the Sylvania Cup Series. Our next race will be at Brands Hatch. And it looks like we got a pair of road courses to match. So it'll be interesting. We're definitely testing the road course prowess and the SuperSpeedway prowess early in the season. So until next time, this is Jake logging out.